Hi, I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me for this 30-minute yoga practice. I'm standing on a yoga mat. If you don't have one, don't worry about it. A carpeted area that's not too slick is going to be just fine. I like to have a chair nearby for balance and other things. Could be that would be helpful to you as well. I also have a couple of yoga blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, maybe thick books. And I have a folded blanket. You could use your throw blanket from your couch or a nice big bath or beach towel. Once you have those things, your best bet is to have the short edge of your mat, or what would be the short edge of your mat, facing me so that you can look at me the whole time. I'm going to adjust my mat around, but you don't have to. I'm adjusting mine so that you don't have to adjust yours, and you'll be able to see what we're up to together. This whole practice really is about becoming fluid, flexible in ways that go beyond just our muscles, but also our mind. We'll start, as we often do, standing in our mountain pose. So feet hip distance. You can face the long edge of your mat if you have one, or just be facing me, it's fine. Turn your palms away from one another and feel that lift your heart, and smile your collarbones. Have a soft bend in your knees so we're not locked in our legs. Remember, we're fluid. Map out all four corners of your feet on your mat. Even if you're wearing shoes, big toe mound, pinky toe mound, 2 points at the heel. And then feel yourself grow from the earth to the sky as if it were your mountain peak. In this bedrock pose of all poses, we get to another foundation, our breath. Let your breath come in and go out through your nose. Ideally, from now until the end of the practice, that's how we breathe. Mostly, breathe with awareness. Notice your full inhale and pause at the top, and your complete exhale and pause at the bottom. Stay with this awareness. We'll just add a little movement. Inhale, arms out to the side, a V shape with your thumbs to the sky, and then exhale, float your arms along your sides. Inhale, arms out to the side, a V shape. And then exhale, float your arms alongside you. One more time like that. Inhale, V shape. Exhale, arms along your side. Adding on, inhale, bend your knees deeper as the V shape reaches overhead. And then exhale, stand it up. Softly float your arms along your side. Again, bend your knees. Shift your weight into your heels as much as you can when your knees are bent. V shape overhead. Exhale, stand into your mountain. 2 more times, bend your knees. Inhale. And exhale, stand. 1 more time. Inhale, chair pose. And exhale, stand. Adding on more. Inhale, arms in a V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips. Take your hands to your thighs for our sun salutation. Traction your hands on your thighs, and inhale some length into your spine. Exhale, hinge a little deeper at your hips, but our heads stay above our hips. And then inhale, V shape overhead. We're standing. Float the arms along your side. We'll add our chair to that. Bend your knees. Inhale, chair pose, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and take your hands to your thighs. Inhale, press, traction into your hands as you lengthen through your spine. Exhale, a little bit more, hinge at the hips. Keep your knees bent. Inhale to a chair pose, V shape overhead, and then stand. Float your arms along your side. Again, inhale, chair pose, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips and hands to your thighs. Inhale, grow tall through your spine. Exhale, hinge a little deeper at your hips. Keep your knees bent, V shape overhead, and stand into the majesty of your mountain. Once more, for good measure, bend your knees, chair pose, V shape. Exhale, hinge at your hips, hands to your thighs. Inhale, longest we've been yet. Exhale, a little bit more hinge at the hips, and then inhale to our chair, a victorious V shape overhead, and then stand into your mountain. Now stand wide on your mat. So step out wide if you don't have a mat. Just imagine that you're on that wide stance of your mat. Thumbs to the sky as your arms are out to the side. You can kind of measure roughly ankles underneath wrists, although we may need to adjust that as we go. I often do. Now, hands onto your thighs, hinge at the hips a bit. Still, head above the hips. So we're not letting things crumble and get too low to the ground. Remember our traction of hands onto the thighs, growing tall. Can you feel like you grow a little bit taller in your spine, even though you're bending your knees deeply? And then side lunges, right knee bends, left leg straightens, through center, left knee bends, right leg straightens. Find a tempo that works for you, but see if you can stay tall and tractioning even as we glide fluidly side to side like those skaters in the Olympics, right? Now, the whole while, it's going to be tempting to collapse, and I'd like you to not do that. So you're the gold medalist of this side-to-side slow motion speed skating that we're doing. Take a few more moments here. Just so slow, side to side. Great. One more round each side if you don't mind. And then we'll settle in the middle with both knees bent. Traction a bit, grow taller than you have been yet, and lift your low belly towards your spine. So that's not a collapse into the low back either. 3 breaths here. I know it's a little intense in the legs. You can always straighten your legs before I mention it if you want to or need to. And then very slowly start to let the legs straighten. Thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. Great. From deep in your right hip, turn your right leg out so that your right foot faces the short edge of your mat. And then cheat your left heel at a 45-degree angle. This is our measuring stick. We do this together a lot. If you've practiced with me before, we just want to measure and make sure that the right knee is over the right ankle. So if it's too short a stance, you're going to get something where there's a little too much stress to the knee. So give yourself a moment to find the right stance. Then straighten that V shape overhead and the front leg, and let that be an inhale. Exhale, bend your right knee. We're into our warrior, thumbs to the sky. Inhale, V shape, straightening the front leg. It's still fluid, bend your front knee. Straighten your front leg, it's floaty. Bend your front knee, and now we'll linger here in our warrior 2, and there are a few things for us to tend to. So even when we hold a pose, we don't become a statue. I'd like you to build it from the ground up. Right heel is stamping. Left foot, the outer edge is solid and the arch is lifted and alive, and we're not letting it collapse back there. Low belly lifts and we're growing tall, just like we found with our V shape a moment ago. Last few moments, just like this. And slowly straighten that front leg and turn all of your toes to face the long edge of your mat. And then turn your left leg out so that your left foot faces that front edge of your mat. Cheat your right heel back, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Our spacing should be okay because we were here for the first side. But experiment anyway. Bend that left knee, make sure that everything feels like it's where it wants to be. And then straighten your front leg, V shape overhead. Let this be your inhale, and then exhale, arms out to the side. Gorgeous. Inhale, V shape overhead. We're fluid. We're flexible body and mind here. Bend your front knee, exhale. Arms overhead, straighten the front leg for your inhale. And then one more time, settle into your warrior pose, thumbs to the sky. Build this side from the ground up. Left heel stamping, outer edge of your right foot solid and that arch lifted. And speaking of lifted, low belly lifts, crown of the head to the sky. If your arms are tired and you need to lower them for a moment and bring them back, then that's exactly what you do. We're fluid there too. Willing to meet ourselves where we are and give ourselves what we need today without judgment. There's no score system here. Last couple of moments. And then slowly straighten the front leg and lower your arms. Turn all of your toes to face that long edge of your mat. Let's shorten our stance here a little bit. So heel toe. So you're a little bit wider than hip distance, and we'll measure to make sure that we're where we want to be here too. Then turn your heels in and your toes out and bend your knees out to the side. So it's another sumo squat, but it's just a little bit different now in terms of the angle of our feet. You could imagine that you're angling your feet to the two corners of your mat, those long corners. And then we want to be careful, like the front leg in our warrior pose, that we're not letting it be, and I'll turn so that you can see. We don't want this kind of thing where your knee is really out in front of the ankle. So give yourself some spacing. Take some time to kind of figure that out. Thumbs to the sky, V shape. Bend your right elbow. So take a V shape with your right arm overhead. Pat yourself on the back. Turn your left thumb down and then bring the base or the back of your hand to the base of your spine. Come through center, straighten both of your legs, thumbs to the sky. Rebend your knees. Left arm is a V shape and you pat yourself on the back. Right thumb faces down and you nestle the back of your hand to the small of your back. Low belly's lifting here too. Straighten your legs, take your arms out to the side, think fluid. Bend your knees, right thumb to the sky, pat yourself on the back with the top hand and nestle the base of your spine with the back of your left hand. Straighten your legs, arms out to the side. Bend your knees again, left thumb to the sky, pat yourself on the back with your left hand, back of your right hand to the small of your back. Straighten your legs, fluid, arms out to the side. Bend your knees, right hand pats you on the back, left hand, back of the hand, small of the back. Straighten your legs, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Bend your knees, left thumb to the sky, pat yourself on the back, right back of the hand to the small of your back. One more fluid round, straighten your legs, arms out to the side, thumbs to the sky. Left or right arm pats you on the back, left hand behind your back as your knees bend. Fluid movement through the center, left thumb to the sky, bend your knees, pat yourself on the back with your left hand, bring your right hand behind your back. And then fluid movement, straightening your legs, thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. And then float your arms alongside you, carefully, heel toe, and just stand in your mountain for a moment. There's going to be some prop movement, so we want to get our footing, our bedrock in place. Some of us will use blocks. I'll show you where to place those. So tall and at the edge of your mat so that they're not in your way. If you prefer to use the seat of your chair for a triangle pose, just move your chair midway down your mat so that you can find your hand on the base of your chair for our next posture. And then we'll take our wide stance again. So thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. Step yourself long so that you're kind of measuring ankles underneath wrists. And then turn your right leg out so that your right foot faces the short edge of your mat. Cheat your left heel at that 45-degree angle. Now, one thing that's important is we're not locked into that front leg, so a little tiny micro bend, sort of like when we were standing in our mountain at the beginning. The other thing is we're not gonna fold at the waist, we're gonna hinge at the hip. So think a little bit of sass, left hip out to the side, reach long, and then take your right hand onto your block or onto the base of your chair, left thumb to the sky. Think fluid, and remember what we did in our sumo squat not so long ago. Take your left hand behind your back, press the back of your hand to the small of your back, and then float that arm, thumb to the sky. We'll go back and forth a few times. So back of the hand to the base of the spine, and then left arm up, thumb to the sky. Gorgeous. Float it back behind you. If your tempo's different than mine, no problem. It's what makes the world go round. We all dance to our own rhythm, don't we? The non-negotiable is that you are breathing the whole time. Now, next time your left arm is up to the sky, let it stay there. Spin the inner upper arms away from each other so we haven't started to hunch shoulders into ears. And then firm through your feet and your belly. If you're using a block, you can add a little bend to your right knee, move the block, and then come upright. Your chair should be fine where it is. Lower your arms, turn all of your toes to face that long edge of your mat. Setting up our second side. Left leg turns to face the short edge of your mat. Right heel at that 45-degree angle. Thumbs to the sky, arms out to the side. Now, two things to remember. We're not locked into that front leg, so get that little micro bend happening in the front leg. And then remember, we're not gonna side bend. It's a hinge at the hips, so really reach out long. Feel that sass in the hip. And then left hand on your block or on the base of your chair, right thumb to the sky. You can feel your left big toe mound pressing into your mat. And then we add the fluidity of our arms. Right hand behind your back, back of the hand to the small of the back. Float it up and over like waves, thumb to the sky. Bring it back behind you, back of the hand to the base of the spine. And then float your right arm, thumb to the sky. Remember, if your waves are a different tempo than mine, then enjoy your own tide. We'll do a few more here. How's it going? Keeping the shoulders out of your ears and making sure that the wave movement is fed by waves of breath. And next time your right arm is up to the sky, let it remain there. Let's find that extra spaciousness, spinning the shoulders out of the ears. Low belly lifts. Take a look down. You can bend your left knee and just move the block so it's out of your way as you come upright. Your chair should be fine where it is right now. And then turn all toes to face that long edge of your mat. Lower your arms and slowly heel toe back into our mountain. And make your way to the front edge of your mat or front of your space if that's what we're dealing with. And you can use your chair base if you'd like to, or your blocks to carefully make your way down onto the ground. Now, I always like to sit on a folded blanket or towel. It just gives me my hips a little bit more space, and it makes sure that I'm not rounding in my spine, and I have a feeling that the same would be handy for you. So fold your blanket or even sit on a pillow or a cushion from your couch. And then situate it so that our cross-legged seat starts with the right shin in front of the left shin. We're not crossing at the ankles like this. We're going to try to tighten up our cross a little bit. So that just means walk your feet so that they feel like they've landed underneath your knees. And then you're going to feel it a lot more in the hip rotators and hopefully a bit less in your knees. Sit up tall, like when we spoke of tractioning our hands into our thighs in our mountain pose. And you can have your palms up or down in your lap, kind of like a gentle, fluid, sweet reminder of things that we found when we were standing. Translating those to our seat. And speaking of translating things to our seat that we did standing, our wave-like arms will meet us here. Right thumb to the sky, pat yourself on the back. Left arm out to the side, thumb faces down. And then just rest the back of your hand onto the base of your spine. Fluid arms. Left thumb to the sky, left hand pats you on the back. Back of the right hand to the base of the spine. And then just go back and forth. Slow, wave-like. Side to side, and you're honoring your own tempo. If you want to go slower than I am, fabulous. Probably not too quick. Let it be sweet and syrupy. Last couple of moments. The fact that we're doing different things on different sides of our body makes it brain food too. One more roundish on each side. And then release your hands into your lap and pause. Lean back so that we can change the cross of our legs. So lean back, give a little bit of a waggle, and then we'll reorganize our cross with the left shin in front of the right shin. Remember, not so much of an ankle cross, more of the shins crisscrossing. Make sure your perch is tall enough for your spine to feel long. Take your hands on your thighs. Think back to when we found the traction in our sun salutation and see if you can translate that here in our seat. Now, instead of the wave-like movement in our arms, we're going to contend with a few different kinds of waves. There are waves of breath as we sit and meditate. And there will be waves of thought. There just will be waves of distraction, waves of feeling a little bit anxious. See if you can come back to the waves of your breath when you're visited by the waves of stories from the past or anticipation of the future. And come right back to where we are right now. I'm going to be quiet for a full minute. You will be visited by waves, but see if you can substitute the waves of thought a little bit with the experience of the waves of your breath. 1 minute, starting now. Excellent. How did it go with those waves? I know that sometimes it seems like sitting should be the easiest, but I think sitting still and just being with ourselves can be the most slippery, challenging place of all. It's where we really have to get flexible and fluid and forgiving in our own direction, don't you think? And then we can be that way with other people. Lean back, let your legs straighten out in front of you for a moment. And you can curl the toes back and either have a little bit of distance in between your feet or bring your feet together. But Take your hands onto your thighs, find that little sun salutation traction, sit tall. If a hinge at the hip and walking your hands a little bit forward is interesting, that's fine, but I don't want rounding. We're not going to be here a super long time. But just feel that it's symmetrical, which is just a fancy way of saying both legs doing the same thing. And it's a counter pose to our seated cross-legged position for a moment. "30 seconds here. Now, slowly bring yourself back upright if you folded at all. Bend your knees and place your feet on your mat. Scooch the props out of the way so that we have a clean space for the finish of our practice. And once you've got your props out of the way, lie down on your back. Bend your knees and place your feet as wide as your mat. And if you don't have a mat, just kind of imagine a little wider than hip distance. Bend your elbows, let your palms face the sky. And then like a set of windshield wipers, let your knees spill over to the right. For some of us, picking up the right foot and placing the right ankle on top of that left thigh feels good. For others of us, it does not feel good. So I want you to make your own decision. And this is the feel-good portion of the program for sure. So make sure that you're making decisions that feel like they're bringing us to that blissful Shavasana finish. A couple moments here in our twist. Come through center, windshield wiper over to the left. If you had that ankle on top of the thigh, just make sure you carefully take that off. Place your feet on your mat and windshield wiper and join us. If you want to pick up your left foot and cross it across the thigh, just make sure that, especially things like your right knee and your low back are fine with that. If it's a juicy addition, great. If it's not, you don't need it. And then come down the middle. So carefully dismount your foot if you had the ankle atop the thigh. And then drop your knees to knock knee in on each other. Take your arms alongside you and tuck your shoulder blades on the ground underneath you. A very careful, slight lift of your hips just to create some space in your low back. And then either stay like this or spill your legs straight out onto the floor, feet flop open. And close or cover your eyes. A full minute of our final Shavasana meditation. You're welcome to stay here in your Shavasana as long as you'd like. If you're ready, lightly move your fingers and toes, bend your knees, carefully place your feet on your mat, and then roll to either side and use your hands. Let your head be the last thing to come up, so there's nothing dizzying as we come up to a final seat. You could slide your perch back in underneath your hips, Place your palms on your lap and just take a moment to feel all the fluidity of breath, of body, and of mind, so that you can take them with you even when you roll up your mat. I'm Andrea. Thank you so much for practicing with me. I look forward to us doing it again soon.